So look, the moment we shift to Kendrick Lamar, something is happening in real time that the rap world is not ready to admit out loud yet. Thaw out the Iceman, because every single piece around the once and future king of the genre stepping back into the ring is now lined up cleaner than it has ever been. We have officially crossed into a stretch where every Kendrick Lamar move starts to actually make sense. Every signal starts to add up, and despite the so-called Iceman album still drifting around in the background trying to make weather, none of that is going to count for much by the time you finish watching this. The last domino has tipped. The last piece has snapped into place. And right now we can finally see what Kendrick Lamar has been quietly building toward this entire time, and what his next chapter is about to drag the entire genre into. So if you are ready to sit down and break apart exactly how Kendrick Lamar just made his final setup move before the curtain rises on his next era, well, before he unleashes the musical dynasty, he has been engineering brick by brick, a dynasty designed to outlive even him. Then settle in. There is a mountain of fresh material to get through. So do me a favor and smash that like, subscribe, and hype the video up. Every single like, every hype, every subscription is one more click of the dial that thaws the Iceman, that breaks another Drake fan into pieces, and pushes the whole opposing camp 1 inch closer to tapping out. Because what is unfolding right now around Kendrick Lamar is a level of detail, intention, and long-term vision that we genuinely have not seen executed in modern hip-hop in years. This is, real talk, the most important label rollout of the year. And before we step into what we now know about the new Kendrick Lamar album that is reportedly being polished off as we speak, there is a massive headline that we have to deal with first, because honestly, after spinning this project front to back, there is jaw-dropping potential sitting right here. Something powerful is being born in front of our eyes. That something arrived completely out of left field on June 2nd, a Tuesday no one was watching, when PGLang and every channel orbiting it began pushing out the news that a third artist had quietly been added to the roster. A new signing, a new debut album, and the name attached to this whole reveal is a singer named Imani Imani. If you have not bookmarked the name yet, do it right now, learn how to spell it, welcome her in, and tag this moment in your memory. Because the people who pay attention to this signing today are the ones who will be saying they were there when it happened. That part is locked in. Because here is the only sentence you really need to hear. Kendrick Lamar and Dave Free do not sign artists. Up to this exact second, the entire PGLang roster was just Kendrick himself and his blood cousin baby Keem. Adding a third name to that list is not a marketing event. It is a coronation. It tells you everything about the faith, the runway, and the long-term vision they are pouring into this artist. And Kendrick Lamar has been telegraphing this move for years if you knew where to look. Listen back to Squabble Up. The album dropped this week is literally called Papercut. He knew. It was mapped. It was scheduled. Every word of his recent catalog has been a breadcrumb, and we are only now catching up to the trail. What this should really show you is how surgical this team is, how confident, how deliberate. Because while a lot of newly signed artists get dressed up for a PR run and then quietly shelved for 18 months, PGLang completely sidestepped that script. They announced the artist. They put her on the label. And they delivered an entire body of work the same week. That is why Imani Imani is already buzzing. That is why the noise is already growing. And once you spin Papercut, once you hear how she slots in beside in-house collaborators like Sam Dew and the Jamie Foxx adjacent regulars who have been in Kendrick Lamar's orbit for years, it becomes obvious that PGLang is grooming her into the centerpiece vocalist that every dominant rap dynasty has always needed. Roc-A-Fella had Rihanna. TD had SZA. PGLang now has Imani Imani. And her debut is the final domino in the current phase of the label's master plan. This is not a soft launch. This is a flag-planting moment, and the soil it is being planted in has been tilled for 2 solid years. We know that for a fact, because what leaked alongside her album is even bigger than the album itself. Imani Imani's arrival is the breadcrumb that has pulled new information about Kendrick Lamar's upcoming album into the daylight, including what may be the first credible signal of a release window and a lead single. So now zoom in on where we actually are. PGLang has dropped 2 full-length albums in the last few months. Baby Keem returned with his first project in 5 years. Imani Imani touched down with the debut. The 2 artists standing on Kendrick Lamar's left and right have officially planted their flags. And for some quick context, Imani Imani originally laced a vocal on a Kendrick Lamar-Chanel collaboration back in 2024 that never officially saw daylight, though plenty of people heard it. That song was technically Kendrick Lamar's first new solo release after Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, meaning he was working with her before the entire Drake war ever started. Connect that timeline and a clear picture forms. Imani was likely signed back in 2024, has been quietly developed for 2 years straight, and was held in the wings until exactly this moment to make her grand entrance as a fully formed player. There is no version of this story where the timing is accidental. None. And right there is the spot where the intentionality of all of this really hits. Baby Keem's Casino is 11 tracks. Imani Imani's Papercut is 11 tracks. Kendrick Lamar's GNX is 12, but anyone paying attention sees that Whacked Out Murals reads as an intro track recorded weeks before release, and Heart PT6 reads as a series installment, meaning underneath that you find another perfectly engineered 11-song spine. 3 albums, 3 matching skeletons, 1 unified architecture. This is not Marvel cranking out content to fill a quota. This is a creative team building a true cinematic universe where every detail is a signal in a larger story. And when you trace it back, every visual symbol Kendrick Lamar was teasing on the Grand National Tour now lives in these other projects. The branding stretched into Casino through the gambling imagery. It stretched into Papercut through the playing cards. Even the opener of Imani's album is called Bet On Me. The entire iconography from the GNX era was a key being shaped to unlock the next door. And now the door is open. You can walk straight through it. Now here is where the real fun begins. Now we sit down with the only conversation that actually matters, the new Kendrick Lamar album. Beyond the cryptic teases from artists in his circle and the vague signaling, the same industry sources that nailed Baby Keem's release timeline down to the hour are now whispering that Kendrick Lamar's next album is in its final stages of mixing. Treat that as smoke until we get the fire, but consider this. The same source that had Drake's Iceman lyrics circulating early, the same source that called the multi-project Drake rollout before it happened, is now telling us something very specific. They are not promising a release date for Kendrick Lamar's album. What they are promising is that a feature verse will land first. Not a single, a feature. Kendrick Lamar is reportedly going to open his next album cycle by guest jumping onto somebody else's record. Which, well, where have we heard that one before? Honestly, if their track record holds, there is no real reason to doubt them. And the signal they are putting out lines up too cleanly with every other breadcrumb we are seeing on the ground. If your memory is sharp, you already know. Like that. Future and Metro Boomins, we don't trust you. The shot heard around the rap world. Kendrick Lamar opened the last era of his career by detonating a guest verse, and according to this leak, he is about to open the next era the exact same way. Now look, do not expect a Drake-level diss track. He is not chasing that fight anymore. There is no rapper on the planet right now whose name Kendrick Lamar needs to take down to prove a single thing. But do not confuse maturity with quiet. The genre-shaking impact of a guest verse from him at this exact moment, after this much silence, is going to be deafening. He will have things to address. He will simply address them in a different language. He may not be aiming at a person anymore. He may be aiming at an era. The bigger question is whose record he picks. Which album is the landing strip? Whose project is sitting in the queue right now that is large enough, strategic enough, and culturally hot enough to host a Kendrick Lamar guest spot? Run the board with me. Megan Thee Stallion has Act 3 on deck. She dropped a wish list of features that did not include Kendrick Lamar publicly, but stranger things have happened, and frankly, watching the people who have spent years dragging her name through the mud have to clap for her standing next to Kendrick Lamar would be one of the funniest plot twists modern rap has ever produced. I am not even exaggerating that. The Drakes of the world, the academics of the world, the Tory Lanezes of the world, all forced to watch in real time as Kendrick Lamar puts Megan on his arm and walks her into the next chapter of her career. That alone would be worth the price of admission. Travis Scott has been hinting at a new project. A Travis Scott and Kendrick Lamar pairing is genuinely overdue, and the word in the back rooms is that Drake has made it very clear behind the scenes that he does not consider Travis part of the family anymore. So Travis is going to have to pick a side, and that decision tells us where his loyalty actually points. I lean toward Travis ultimately working with Kendrick Lamar on whatever drops next, but I will not pretend the Drake possibility is dead. Travis has always been an opportunist about who he stands next to in any given season, and whichever option pumps his commercial trajectory the most is the option he tends to take. Pull the lens local and the West Coast options multiply. YG has a new album reportedly close. Mustard could engineer something. AZ Chike just teased that he will be back later this month, which probably means a Peekaboo sequel is on the way, and structurally, no GNX-era artist would benefit more from a Kendrick Lamar guest verse than him. To be blunt, the entire GNX class has fumbled their moment. They were handed a generational pass in 2024, and most of them dropped it. Their legacies are already mostly written. But if Kendrick Lamar steps in and bear hugs one of them on a track right now, that artist gets a second life. Beyond that, you have the Black Hippie possibilities. A Schoolboy Q feature would frankly close the loop on a piece of TDE history that the streets have been waiting on for a long time. And then there is Doekiai, who absolutely needs to drop this year. I know it sounds blunt, but she has stadium headlining potential, and the window to capture it is closing fast. If she puts out an album within the next several months and Kendrick Lamar steps onto a record, she does not just open the next chapter of her career, she rewrites the ceiling on it. The clock on Doekiai is real. The number of first weeks an artist gets before the algorithm stops treating them as a phenomenon is small, and she is approaching the edge. Wherever this verse actually lands, the takeaway is the same. The plan is built. The verse is recorded. The button is ready to be pushed. And remember, that verse is not even the album yet. It is also not the next installment of the Heart series, which will almost certainly arrive before the album itself. So strip it down to a clean timeline. Feature verse, Heart PT7, album. 3 buttons left to push and Kendrick Lamar is back in full bloom. The wildest part of all of this is the timeline. If Imani Imani started recording with Kendrick Lamar in 2024 and her debut just released in 2026, you have to assume the same multi-year incubation has been applied to his own next album. GNX might have been the spontaneous one, an off-the-cuff victory lap fueled by the energy of the pop-out. The next Kendrick Lamar album, by contrast, has been quietly cooking for years. Real years. That is a terrifying thought and an exhilarating one in the same breath. Because if GNX was Kendrick Lamar at maybe 40% of his full preparation, what does 100% of him sound like when the lab has been running undisturbed for half a decade? So when you stack it all up, the new signee, the cousin returning to the road in full performance mode, the swirling chatter around Kendrick Lamar's own pipeline, the picture has never been this clear. We have never had this much visibility into what kind of return is being engineered. Kendrick Lamar is not just dropping another album. He is finalizing a label, a roster, a sound, a brand, and a creative universe that has been quietly assembling itself since PGLang was incorporated back in 2020. If you cannot get excited about this rollout, then real talk, you may not actually love hip-hop, because the receipts are right here in front of you. You can hold them up to the light. You can count them. The receipts do not lie. Now think about the historical lineage for a second. Every elite rap dynasty has been built on a trio. Young Money before everything collapsed had its core 3. The gold standard, the textbook example, was Roc-A-Fella at its absolute peak. Jay-Z, Kanye, Rihanna. 2 rappers and a singer. That formula has produced the most commercially dominant decade any label has ever strung together. And Kendrick Lamar has now carved out his own boutique, art house version of that exact triangle. Kendrick himself, Baby Keem, and Imani Imani. Smaller, sharper, more curated, but built to move the same kind of market. PGLang as a label and Project 3 as the agency operating beside, it gives Kendrick Lamar control of 2 arms of the music business at once. That is not signing artists. That is constructing an empire. And empires that are built this carefully tend to outlast the people who built them. The mission from here is obvious. All 3 of these names are about to grow together. Kendrick Lamar is going to use the spotlight he commands to turn Baby Keem and Imani Imani into full-fledged stars. Baby Keem is already there in terms of skill. His only real obstacle has been consistency, and the new album is the antidote. Imani Imani is going to ride the Kendrick Lamar stimulus the way every Kendrick collaborator before her has. Look at the trajectory of Sounwave alone. The producer who built so much of the Kendrick Lamar discography is now in studios with Taylor Swift. That is the gravity Kendrick Lamar carries. That is what proximity to him does to a career. And the next Kendrick Lamar album will almost certainly feature Imani Imani on at least one record, probably a Luther Tier showcase. And that single moment is going to reroute her entire career upward. We have seen the Kendrick Lamar ecosystem do this to producer after producer, vocalist after vocalist, engineer after engineer. He only brings the best into the room. And when he brings someone in who is not yet considered the best, like a Kodak feature, like a left field collaborator, it is because they serve a deeper narrative function that audiences will be decoding for years. Nobody steps into a Kendrick Lamar record by accident. Think about how rare this is in the current climate. Most of the biggest names in rap right now are either coasting on legacy, churning out content for streaming quota, or chasing trends weekly to stay culturally afloat. Kendrick Lamar is doing the exact opposite. He is moving in years, not weeks. He is moving in eras, not singles. He is building artists from the studio out, instead of buying artists from the marketing team in. And he is doing it during a window when the genre is genuinely starved for a center of gravity. The biggest pop crossover figures have splintered. The old guard has lost its grip on the conversation. The next wave has not coalesced. Into that vacuum, Kendrick Lamar is dropping a fully formed 3-artist label, a unified creative universe. and a release strategy that looks like it was reverse-engineered from the playbook of every great cultural empire that ever existed. He is moving like Berry Gordy. He is moving like Dr. Dre at the peak of Aftermath. He is moving like Jay-Z at the height of Roc-A-Fella. And he is doing all of it without giving a single major media interview about it. So look, the boogeyman is walking back into the room. The closer is stepping back onto the mound. The architect is putting the final brick in the wall. Whatever name you want to use, accept it now, because it is happening, and it is going to happen fast. When Kendrick Lamar finally comes back outside in full force, into a year that already has an Iceman album, a Falloff album, and 20 other rappers trying to grab oxygen and finally claim a single win, every one of those plays is going to evaporate. So enjoy the noise while it is still around. Enjoy the peanut gallery doing their little laps. Enjoy every desperate move from every artist trying to plant a flag in a year that does not belong to them. Because the second Kendrick Lamar reopens that door, the entire conversation resets, and none of the current chatter survives the impact. That is not hype. That is the pattern Kendrick Lamar has executed every single time he has returned. The pattern is the pattern. The history is the history. And the writing on the wall has never been easier to read than it is right now. So with all of that on the table, let me know where you land. What do you think about the prospect of the next Kendrick Lamar album? What did you think about Baby Keem's return on Casino? What is your take on the Imani Imani signing? Have you spun Papercut yet? Drop your thoughts below. For what it is worth, I thought Papercut was a great listen. Easy to throw on in the car, easy to throw on while you are working, and the overall vibe is genuinely strong. I will be spinning it heavily this week. The production has a soft, late-night quality to it that I think is going to age beautifully, and her voice has a kind of warmth that genuinely complements the PGLang sound palette in a way that just feels native. And if you made it this far in the video, you already know what to do. Tap the like, hit the subscribe, hype this thing up, and stay close, because the next domino has not even fallen yet. Want to see how Drake just responded to Jay-Z in the most embarrassing way imaginable, dragging Maul into the middle of it for reasons that should make any grown man cringe? Check the suggested video. It is somehow even worse than you are picturing.